Good morning. Good morning. This is TJ Speaks, and I am your host, TJ. And we are going to be discussing in today's show Jim Crow without the Jim Crow title. That's the title of today's show, and it is very relevant to today because what we are witnessing, Black America and all America. America. What we are witnessing is a government operation against the Black community, and TJ Speaks is going to explain. Let's jump into it. Okay, guys, little quick history lesson. We all know about Jim Crow. We know the significant part of Jim Crow was that this was a government action, this was a government policy that was written down and broadcasted everywhere. We know Jim Crow was instituted much like similar to sanctuary cities and many local municipalities. They had enacted and adopted the policy of Jim Crow. And what's happening today that's very similar, a lot of local municipalities are adopting sanctuary city. That's odd. Why would a municipality adopt sanctuary city before illegal immigrants arrive? That's the reason why we know that this sanctuary city migrant crisis nonsense is government sanctioned. See, when you step back from all the madness, you can observe the whole picture. And what I have observed is that both situations, Jim Crow and Sanctuary City, have the very basically identical patterns. Jim Crow and Sanctuary City have identical patterns. These are patterns of number one, you enact it as in a response to something. Okay? Now, I don't have all the details, or, well, I kind of do. I kind of do know why they enacted Sanctuary City. But one of the telltale signs is when all of the local municipalities who live in different parts of the United States. United States is a big country. We have a West Coast and an East Coast, and we have a North and a South. And suddenly they all come up with the same idea. That's point number one. When all the local municipalities from different locations who have different experiences and a different population all come up with the same policy idea. This is cooked up from the U.S. government or from those within the U.S. government. That's the telltale sign number one. And number two sign, this is U.S. government sanctioned. They played a long game. Like the gentleman said in the Chicago council meeting, they are playing chess while you're playing checkers. That's what's going on. People just react to what's going on currently, the crisis at hand. But in reality, you need to be paying attention to all the little details, all the sudden policies that every city from across the nation start enacting at one time, which is absurd because they are at different locations, different people, different needs. But when they come up with a policy, much like Jim Crow, that decided that Black American citizens, the newly freed slaves, and the descendants of the freed slaves suddenly had to be subjected to a different set of standards in living than any other American. That's why Jim Crow is the reason why the descendants of slaves deserve their reparations. Because that Jim Crow was enacted for and against the descendants of American slaves. That was a government policy. State and local municipalities all adopted Jim Crow against the American descendants of slaves. And that is why the American descendants of slaves want reparations. But let's proceed. Let's look at the other similarities. So they enact this sanctuary city policy using the sellout black mayors. At the time where black power was pretty high still after the 60s and the early 70s, they started having first black mayors. Black people started voting. Black people, black American descendants of slaves, started in participating in the political arena. It was safe where they didn't have to get hung by the KKK for the first time. Okay, so you had more black politicians coming out, but this is the thing: we always have more black sellouts at the same time. So it's not a coincidence that the black politicians, many people mention Harold Washington of Chicago, suddenly gets elected. This is another telltale sign. The black mayors get elected, and suddenly they come up with an out of your world policy called sanctuary city. Now, why would you want a sanctuary city when you don't even have illegal migrants in your city? I hate to say it, people. Dumbass. See, the government always felt that they were smarter because they withheld education from the black American descendants of slaves. We were locked out of a lot of educational facilities, and the black immigrants was allowed in, and that's the big distinction. The black immigrants was allowed in to cover up the racism against the black Americans, descendants of slaves. Okay, so they figured in America, being a foundational black American, America figured that I'm a descendant of slaves. They never educated the slaves. The slaves were killed if they could read. It was banned for a slave to read. So we're gonna fast forward a couple of hundred years, and now you get to our generation, and they figured, well, they're stupid. You know, people believe that we're dumb because we were not educated. But what a lot of people don't get, a lot of white immigrants don't understand, and a lot of black immigrants don't understand, is that America withheld education from us for many, many, many years. It wasn't until recently, in the 1990s, that more black Americans attended college and universities and was becoming more educated. So as a result, today in 2023, you have more educated black American descendants of slaves. And we have that stigmatism, or that stereotype that we're stupid. So these politicians back in Harold Washington days figured, well, they're stupid. Because everyone assumed when you're a foundational black American, you're stupid. You hear the Asians talk about how we're stupid all day on Fox News and CBS because they feel, oh, they scored higher on an exam, that we must be stupid. They don't realize our education is always under attack in America. America has a pacific hatred towards the foundational black Americans. And many people don't get that. We have been the target of United States government actions against us since the beginning, since slavery, Reagan days, the contraband, the flooding the neighborhood with drugs during the Black Panthers, FBI blowing up the Black Panthers. We have always been a target for the U.S. government, and no immigrant can relate to that because America don't target immigrants. America welcome immigrants. And forever, a lot of people don't understand that black Americans are not immigrants. We are the only non-native, non-immigrant class of people. That's the difference. We're not native to America. That belongs to the Native Americans. And we're not immigrants. So the foundational black Americans are in a specific special category. A specific category of people just so happens to be historically and systematically discriminated against And you're seeing it right now with the migrant crisis. It's not a crisis. This is a government sanctioned economic attack on the Black Americans. The people of Chicago and New York are correct. They have no business financing asylum seekers and financing their life. That is Joe Biden's jurisdiction. That is the federal government jurisdiction. And if the federal government cannot afford 15 million asylum seekers, then President Biden has no business letting them into the country. It's irresponsible, but it's also a purpose. And you have mayors like Mayor Adams and Mayor Brandon of Chicago that volunteers. The sellouts are the Black city mayors are volunteering our tax dollars. The Black community resources are being forced to be given over to illegal people. They want us to pay for an illegal operation, but they would arrest a Black man or woman in an instant. But Black America, the small population that we are, is being forced to finance an illegal federal action. Do you hear what I'm saying? This is insane. And only a person that, is awakened and enlightened can see, you know, this is absolutely insane. And it all comes from the fact that the US government and President Biden feels that Black Americans are stupid, that we don't understand separation of powers, that we don't understand jurisdiction. Biden said it himself many years ago. They're not going to understand this if they're not a lawyer. But Biden don't understand. You don't have to be a lawyer to think. To think. So we're under attack. And the sellout Black city mayors, as you can see, Mayor Brandon, he sold them out. He sold Chicago out. The man ain't been in Chicago mayor for less than 6 months and is giving away $40 million a month to illegal people. Can you imagine what $40 million could do for the Black community if it was reinvested into the community? So now we know two things. That Chicago is not as broke as they claim to be. And they got $40 million to be put out of the resources to be put into the community, into the Chicago community, the whole community. Because everyone across all backgrounds in Chicago is working hard to keep that neighborhood up. But the city of Mayor Brandon and the coalition just announced with President Biden and the Governor Pritzker don't feel that the Chicago community need their money back to be invested into their communities. I can't even imagine. I have to take a pause. The hurt and the pain of always being subjected to a poor education, never having a decent building. It's always been dreary. They couldn't even put decent light bulbs up when I was a kid. Even to this day, the kids need reading. They need reading literacy professionals, specialists to help the descendants of slaves. We have been denied an education in this country since the beginning for 500 years. Of course, many of us will struggle with reading and writing English. No one cared to teach us no English. No one cared to teach us writing. No one cared to teach us math or science. But our children need those reading specialists to help their reading scores. And to find out that New York City and Mayor Brandon of Chicago got over $40 billion a month that could have went into the education of the Black children. We should be having astronauts come out of our schools, doctors, lawyers, scientists. It's all possible. The American dream is right there. but they have been withholding the money from the Black community, the money that we work so hard to generate. And when you look in our communities, you see the garbage is left out, the sidewalks are not paved, the roads are bumpy. That's all done on purpose. And the people are left homeless. All of that is done on purpose. Because many of us are hardworking people and we work our whole lives. And we can't understand why we can't get ahead in America. Why nothing that we do makes our community better. But now, because of this racist agenda, we know why. America has the money. We work hard. We are generating the cash. And they're just not giving it to the community. The politicians at top, we always voted for the Democrats. Vote blue no matter who. We always voted for the Black person, the Black candidate. But the truth is, the way the Black community has been voting is completely wrong. We need to vote for people that's going to take our tax dollars and not give it to illegal migrants, but reinvest that money from the community so they can see what their hard work is doing. Because my whole life, the way my community looks, it doesn't seem like I'm working hard every day, but I know I am. I'm working 10 hours every day, but I can't see the fruit of my labor. I can't see it. The schools are poor, the roads are terrible, and the neighborhood is trash. We don't have decent communities, parks anymore. We don't have any events anymore. It's terrible. But I'm working every day, working towards nowhere. So now we know what's going on. Thanks, America. So let's go on. So all of this U.S. government sanctioned economic attack happened at a critical point. And the critical point is that we are at like I said, the highest number of Black American educated population. And at the same time, the issue of reparation has come up because reparations is owed to the descendants of American slaves. And to be a part of the community, the only citizen group in America that has never received redress. That's also a title that the Foundational Black Americans hold. We are the only citizen group that has been wronged by the U.S. government and the U.S. government policies to have never received any redress or reparations. Every other group has received something. The Native Americans receive reparations. The Hawaiians receive reparations. The Japanese receive reparations. And many of the other immigrant groups, they get programs like asylum program and refugee program. But you don't hear of no such program for the descendants of slaves. The freedmen, the freed slaves, our honorable ancestors, was released from slavery without nothing, without a bowl of cereal to eat, without a jacket. So they had to leave with whatever they had on. And that's all they ever had. And that's all the assistance, that's all they got. They never received any assistance in America, contrary to all of the immigrant programs that exist in America. Black American descendants of slaves have never received any assistance whatsoever in America, subpar to any immigrant program. All immigrants from all backgrounds receive some type of assistance and program, and we have been here the longest and have received none, zero. No program, no redress, and no reparations. So at the same time, reparations talk has gained national support across all genres. At the same time, the United States government is enacting this attack on the Black American communities, flooding our communities with self-sufficient, non-self-sufficient migrants from foreign nations, specifically from the Latin American part of the continent. They have been flooding our communities and forcing the Black citizens, forcing the Black citizens, forcing the Black citizens to finance illegal migration. These people are coming to America with nothing in their pocket and no way to sustain themselves. And the Black American cities are being forced to finance this. And that's the criminality. They basically made a citizen equal to a slave under President Joe Biden and the Democrat Party. Your citizenship is equal to a slave because that's how much respect you get. So, lastly, I want to touch on the fact that illegal immigration was all good and dandy, but now that the U.S. government has stepped up their economic attack on the Black community, guess who's going down with the ship? The Black immigrants. Illegal immigration backfires on Black immigrants because now that you unleash the beast, for the first time in American history, Black immigrants are witnessing white supremacy for themselves. And this is evidenced by the young lady that was from Haitian descent at the Chicago council meeting that blew up the spot that only the Latin, white Hispanic, and the white Afghanistans and the white Ukrainians had a job fair. And all of the Black immigrants was excluded. Welcome to white supremacy, Black immigrants. Because this is why we, as foundational Black Americans, no disrespect to you, this is why we advocated for law. Because America, when you give America a chance to break the law, they always going to find a way to exclude you, your Black self. So you see, illegal immigration is the perfect vehicle for white supremacy. See, you're not following no rules of engagement. So the white president, President Biden, get to pick and choose instead of following the law. If he had to follow the law, if he were to follow the law, he could not discriminate against the Black immigrants. You see, President Biden needs to break the law in order to discriminate against the Black immigrants. Because you guys don't believe it, but we got your back. You come in legally, we got your back. We will make sure that America follows the law and it has equal representation from all the immigrants. The Black immigrants will get their fair share of the immigration visas and green cards. But we can't do that if everybody is supporting illegal immigration. They use the Black immigrants to gain this so-called immigrant coalition. And as soon as the Latin immigrants got superiority and they got their numbers up, they closed the door on your Black self. They closed the door on you Black immigrants. You're no longer invited to the party. This is a whites only party. And that's the danger of illegal immigration. That's the danger. Because if you let the white man in America break the law and you don't hold him to that Constitution, what they're doing in Chicago and New York, having special separate hotels for the white immigrants, the white Latin immigrants, the white Ukrainian immigrants, the white Afghanistan immigrants are being treated separately from the African immigrants and the Caribbean immigrants. They're getting special treatment. Okay? I noticed in New York, all of the white Hispanic immigrants got a scooter. I don't see Haitians on a scooter. I don't see Africans on a scooter. I see all the white ones got a scooter. And chances are the U.S. government paid for it. So there you have it, people. Listen, we can all get along. Black immigrants can have their identity. Black Americans can have their identity. And we can coexist. But there has to be a respect level. And the Black immigrants have to get on board with following the law. Because the law, Black immigrants, is the only thing that's going to protect you in America. You walk outside that law, you are in the land of slavery, my dear. You are in the land of slavery. They look at people like you as collateral damage. So that's it for now, folks. You have a wonderful rest of your day. I hope that I was able to convey this message clearly. Okay? We are living under Jim Crow without the Jim Crow title. Very dangerous point in American history. Okay, right now we're living in the present, but soon this will be history. We don't know what the outcome is going to be, but it's looking like the US government is trying to eradicate the black community altogether. They want to eradicate the black American, foundational black Americans, and they're going to simply deport all of the black immigrants and decide only white immigrants allowed if we continue to go down this road. So good luck, people. Stay blessed and take care. Bye bye.